Hello friends, this is Dr. Shashi Agarwal. I welcome you all. Today our subject is development economics and the topic is Levenstein's critical minimum effort thesis. The critical minimum effort thesis, we are going to cover what is the meaning of Levenstein's critical minimum efforts, what is the need of critical minimum efforts, and we are going to explain on some diagrammatically. Then we are going to criticize this thesis by many economists, and its written note they will be available at my blog. Even the lecture is also available at my second channel, that is the Shashi Agarwal Economics and Law classes. This Levenstein's critical minimum effort is also available English plus explanation in Hindi. It is also available in Hindi explanation and Hindi notes. First of all, we will understand what is the theory of critical minimum efforts focused on. The critical minimum effort theory has been given by the Levenstein, his book Economic Backwardness and the Economic Growth. And this theory is applicable to overpopulated and underdeveloped economies such as India and Indonesia. If the underdeveloped nations, they want to grow for longer period, they want to achieve their long-term economic development, they have to make a certain level of investment. So in order to be out of the vicious circle of poverty, for increasing per capita income, because the underdeveloped economies, the need is minimum level of investment which should push the economy out of the vicious circle of poverty. Because if they invest, if their investment is level is not up to certain level, then they are not going to sustain their economic development. So for increasing the per capita income, the minimum level of investment is very much needed. So they should have the level of self-sustaining, and so essential certain minimum investment is needed to make the economic development possible in the underdeveloped economies. Because in the underdeveloped economies, the population grows at a faster rate. So when the population grows at a faster rate, if the economy, if the certain level of investment is not made in the in those economies, then the rate of growth of population will be higher, and it will not make any changes in the per capita income. So theory of critical minimum effort say the doses of investment are very necessary. The doses of investment could be made in installments over the years. Certain level of investment is very much needed for accelerating the growth process in the underdeveloped economy. So minimum investment could be spread over years. If the underdeveloped economy, if they make investment, their level is less than the minimum level, then they are not going to have the, then they are going to have the facing the problem of low level of income. They will reach the point of stagnation. There will be no economic growth, and they will be caught in the vicious circle of poverty. So what is the need for the critical minimum efforts? Because many resources are such, they should not be applied in small amounts, because if they are applied in smaller amount, so no external economies will be available. For the balanced growth, the minimum investment should be made in the underdeveloped nations, because there is a need of removal of conventional and orthodox outlook, and the economy, if they want to develop their economies, they should adopt the modern outlook. The two types of forces they work in the underdeveloped economies, these are called the stimulating forces and the shocks. Shocks, they are the forces which depress the development forces and reduce the level of income, output and investment. Stimulate are those forces which encourages the development process. shocks, basically the magnitude of shock is very strong. Like now we are having coronavirus, which is pushing the economy into depressing situations. Depressing forces, they have upper limit. Stimulate, the magnitude is very small, they don't have any upper limit, or they have a higher upper limit. So economic growth, minimum critical investment is very much needed. Income raising forces, they should be stimulated, so that, because the depressing forces, they have upper limit, if the income if the minimum investment is done in this way, that the stimulate factors, they are more powerful than the depressing forces, definitely there will be economic growth. And the role which is played by the growth agent is very much required in the development of the underdeveloped economies, because there is a growth of growth agents that is based on the existence of some favorable economic conditions in the economy. So the income raising forces, they should expand at a rate which is higher than the income depressing forces. And these conditions, they are set up by the development growth agents. They could be saver, they could be entrepreneur, they could be investor, they could be innovators who bring new and useful things in the economy. Because the need is increasing the stock of the knowledge of the growth agents, so there will be rise in the productivity, there will be rise in the level of income, and they will have more saving, and they will be having more investment. So more income, more saving, and the economy will be out of the vicious circle of poverty. There are two types of incentive according to the Lieberstein. Zero-sum incentive, which do not raise the level of national income but have only distributive effect, which makes the gap between the rich and poor wider. And the positive investment, which are related to production activity, which raise the level of income. Zero-sum incentive, they have a bad impact on the per capita income, because the entrepreneur who are engaged in zero-sum activities, basically they enjoy great monopolistic position, political power, and social prestige. And there is a transfer of some liquidity from someone to others. But basically these entrepreneurs, they have narrow thought, they have traditional outlook, they potentially block the expanding economic opportunities, and they indulge in non-productive consumption, on spending more on unproductive things. And they also dilute the amount of capital which is available per worker, because as the level of population grows, so there will be less capital available to the per worker, and there is a high capital output ratio. Like we have to produce 1 unit, we need more investment, more capital. So positive activity, they should be encouraged, they should be made more powerful, they should lead to growth and development, because many projects, they are undertaken by the entrepreneur. And here we have to see the positive activity, they should be more than the zero-sum activities. But still we have to make the investment up to a certain level if we want to boost the economic growth in underdeveloped economies. When we make minimum level of investment, there will be mushrooming of growth agents, they will be setting up more units, and there will be less they will be removing the obstacles which are putting obstacle in the growth process. They will increase in the contribution to per unit of capital, and the capital output ratio will also fall, and there will be favorable social and environmental conditions, and the people will be having more specialization, more knowledge, and there will be more growth of industry and the basically tertiary sector. Now we are going to understand the theory of critical minimum efforts with the help of diagram. So this is the force, basically this is the forces, basically DD curve that represents the stimulating, and this curve ZZ that represents the, this curve basically represents the this curve is DD, The curve is DD curve represents the stimulant and ZZ curve shows the shocks, and this is the basically this is the curve which is stimulant, and this is the curve which is depressing. So this is the point of equilibrium. This is the subsistence level. The economy is caught in the vicious circle. If the income level is raised to this level, because here the depressing like the basically ZZ is more powerful, so basically this ZZ, these are the depressing forces which are more powerful, so the income will reach to this level. The minimum investment should be made, so the income level should raise to the OP level. Then the economy will have economic development. So OX, we take the per capita income and the induced income. On the OY axis, we take the per capita income and induced income decline, and the OF line, which is this is the OF line. This is the OF line, which basically shows the this is at the 45-degree equality between the induced income growth and the induced income decline. So basically DD curve is the stimulant and the ZZ curve is shock. Income level, if the income level is raised from OI to ON, rising population will neutralize the effect and reach to the subsistence level. The stimulant should be stronger than the shocks, and the income level should be enhanced to the OP level. So minimum investment is needed. In the economy, it is not possible to invest in large amount. Then we could take the help of the we could motivate the foreign investor to invest, and they could make the large investment or they could make the smaller investment. If it is not possible underdeveloped economy to make the investment in bulk, they could have small doses of the investment. They could have the investment which is spread over many number of years. So we could also have subsequent doses of the foreign investment, so that we could have the economy moving to the path of development. Like here, the first we should make the investment level so that the level of income should rise to OB. In the second installment, the income level should be the investment should be so that the income level should rise to CM level. In the first installment, investment raise the level to OB. Second installment raise the level to CM. To critical injection of investment, they should be made at the appropriate time interval. It will be more beneficial to the economy. Population growth function of per capita income. Libeskind thesis says it is generally based on the evidence which is available in practically, that the rate of population growth is a function of the level of per capita income, because at the subsistence level the birth rate and death rate, they are very high, and growth rate is just equal to survival rate. If per capita income is raised above the subsistence equilibrium position, death rate falls, but birth rate remains the same, and increasing the growth of the population. After a certain point, the population growth start declining. It is based on Dumont's social capillarity thesis. With the rise in per capita income, desire to have children falls. So after reaching a certain point, the population growth rate becomes constant, then falls slowly as the economy approaches the sustainable development. The curve P is the basically this is the growth rate of population at each level of per capita income, and N may the level of per capita income which generates the level of national income growth. Point A shows the subsistence equilibrium point when there is absence of population and income growth. If per capita income is raised to OY level, the population growth is 1%, but the income growth rate is less than. At the OY1 level, the basically rate of population growth is 2%, and the income growth is basically 1%. So per capita income should be raised to this level when the economy, because then the economy, then it will have the sustainable development. This theory is criticized because it fails to work out the relation between the population growth and growth per capita income. The growth of population also depends upon the economic and non-economic factors which are not explained by the Lipinski. It also ignores the effect of the fiscal and monetary policy which determine what should be the size of the investment, and it is focusing more on the closed economy. It also ignores the importance of the programs which are started by the government, but still we could say it's a critical minimum effort is a very significant theory which understands the growth problem of the less developed